Hey everybody, happy Friday. Welcome to the Local Marketing Institute Q&A with your host and your co-host, your host Ben Fisher from Steady Demand, and of course, Greg Gifford, my wonderful co-host. And today we have a very, very special guest, David Mihm, co-founder of Near Media. You know him, you love him. You're going to get to answer all the questions that you want. And if you want to find Greg, you can find him on Twitter. We're still not calling it X, at Greg Gifford.
Never going to do it.
I don't know, dude. David might pay you to one day. You never know.
Dude, did you see how much the valuation of Twitter has dropped since he took over? It was like 44 billion down to like 12.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah, exactly. We could get into that conversation another day. I personally hate it if it goes away, but if it does, we'll just all move over to Threads. And so you can reach Sir David Mihm from Near Media at David Mihm on Twitter. And me, you can reach me at The Social Dude. DMs are always open if you have any questions or if you have any needs or help when it comes to GPP or local SEO. All right. And is that up to date, by the way?
I did it yesterday, dude.
Yes. All right. Okay. Excellent. Good job. So yes, you can reach us online at Facebook, Local Marketing Institute Connect, 2,505. Wait, it's 2,506 now, dude. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I did it yesterday. Like, at least I updated it since a couple months ago.
All right. We appreciate you. But seriously, yeah, join us on Facebook. And yes, our Asana connection for gathering questions is currently borked and broken. We hope it's going to be working over the next 2 weeks. But if not, please go to our Facebook group and ask your questions there, and we will definitely try to answer them live in the next show.
It'll be easy to find them because most of the stuff there is spam messages that we delete. So yeah, just drop it in there, and as long as it's not spam, we'll see it.
Yeah, don't ask it in the chat because that's where all the assets come in.
Yep.
All right. So, and then of course, if you want Greg and I in your ear on the go, wherever you are, go ahead and sign up for the Local Marketing Institute podcast. Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, we're all over the freaking place. All right. So very, very, very little bit of housekeeping. As you know, every single week, peeps, go ahead, please, and leave any kind of questions that you have for, we're going to just start calling David Sir David Mihm. No, but if you have any questions for David, please go ask him in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to go ahead and get those answered. We don't have a ton of questions today, so why don't you go ahead and ask those questions? Of course, if you want to have us do an audit or something like that, just pop your URL in there, and we'll go ahead and do that as well. All right, with that, hey, David, how you doing, dude?
Hey guys, doing all right. Greetings from the frozen tundra of Portland, Oregon. It's about 32 exactly right now with an inch of ice basically everywhere. There's power outages and high winds and everything else. So if I drop out today, you know why. I don't take it personally, but good to be with you, at least for the time being.
Well, good, man. I'm happy to hear that you're totally sheltered in place.
Yeah, exactly. It's like COVID flashbacks, pretty intense right now. So the quick note of housekeeping, I'm actually not on X anymore. I do maintain my account just as a sort of, I don't know, what do you call that? A spam preservation situation to make sure somebody doesn't take it over. But if you want to get in touch with me, LinkedIn is basically the only social network that I'm active on anymore. So that would be a better place to go.
I really kind of wish that all of the Twitter followers that we have out there would actually just go to LinkedIn. It's a much better experience over there.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think X is still a better experience. The TweetDeck, if it's still around, is to me like the only way to like actually consume content. So I guess I would say my entire information consumption has pretty much fallen off a cliff since I left X. But as soon as LinkedIn comes out with a TweetDeck interface, I'll be much more active. So,
did you not hear what happened with TweetDeck?
No, I haven't even paid any attention. Yeah.
E/X decided to put it behind a paywall. So unless you pay the $5 a month for the blue check, you can't use TweetDeck.
Yeah, you have to have the blue check.
Okay.
Yep.
Which absolutely killed my live tweeting at conferences, by the way.
First world problem.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and let's roll the news.
For the news.
This is it. All right. So, two things. We're keeping the news short today because we have the illustrious David Mihm with us. So, this is a treat to everybody. And also because, well, shit didn't really happen over the past 2 weeks. At least it wasn't anything really interesting. So, with that, we're just going to go straight into it. Basically, right now, if you have not noticed, or if you're living under a rock, the new reinstatement process, which is now called the appeal process, has basically almost been rolled out 100% across the world. And it's actually not bad. It really isn't that bad. More news coming on that up on that and probably in the next week or so. But there's a little guide. I have this guide, mega guide I wrote for Bright Local a long time ago. Just refreshed it. So if you want to get yourself comfortable with the new interface, go ahead and check that out. The other piece of news that we have today is nothing earth-shattering or surprising, and that is that Google Sites is going away.
I mean, it's pretty earth-shattering if you're a spammer.
Or if you're in India.
Or exactly, or if you're a non-American local business. I think that Mike Blumenthal, my co-founder at Near Media, has done some great research around the adoption of those sites, and it was largely in places like Indonesia and India, where the $9 a month Wix contract is actually a lot bigger chunk of people's day-to-day incomes, and so I think it's pretty awful for developing world countries who kind of need a free website solution that Google just decided to kill it with basically no warning. I mean, 2 months is not a long time to try to totally rebuild a website,
not at all.
no matter how small it is. So yeah,
it's a record-breaking deprecation of a feature. I don't think I've ever seen GPP kill a feature this fast with so little notice.
Yeah.
But the other issue too that I thought was interesting is that they're automatically pulling the site from your URL button or field or whatever on March 1st and redirecting any, clicks, links, whatever to that site for only 3 months. And then after that, it's just going to 404. And Google has publicly said on multiple occasions that whenever you move a website, you should leave the redirect up for at least a year. Yet they're not going to follow their own advice. I thought that was an interesting thing too.
You know what? It makes me wonder if somebody is going to have the brilliant idea of just tapping into the GBP API and recreating the entire site's experience. Because you could do it. It would be actually really easy to do. Just create a single web page that pulls in the data via the API.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
from a product standpoint, not that hard to execute on. It's the distribution that's difficult, especially if your business model is upselling free customers on paid services.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And a little known nugget is actually Google started the whole sites project actually because of places like India, because they could, like you were saying, they couldn't afford it or they just didn't know how to do it. They didn't have access to the technology. I thought it was a great idea. And I thought it was a nice living citation, actually. I mean, I even had lawyers that pulled cases off of those, but hey, it is what it is. So another one going into the dustbin of history. Speaking of history, okay, so everybody, today what we're going to do is we're deviating from our normal format, and we are going to be doing a little bit of an interview so everybody can get to know David if you don't know David, and maybe taking a little peer into where we're at and where we're going in the future.
Oh,
so
wait, is this?
What?
I'm not sure. Is this a new format or not? Maybe we should ask Barry.
Yeah,
Hey,
let's
Barry,
ask him.
is this a new format?
Yep, it's new.
Thanks, Barry. So, all right, man. So, Dave, you were one of the first people I met when I got into this industry.
Me too.
And you've always had a great ear and gave some great advice, sage advice. And, I think we see you as kind of the OG of this industry, right? Back in the day. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about how did you get here? How'd you even get started in this industry in the first place?
Sure.
Nobody wakes up and goes, I want to work at Moz. Well, maybe.
I bet you plenty of people
do.
at
Some
least
people
did. I bet you they did. Not sure if they do anymore, but I'm not in touch with anyone over there really anymore, aside from Miriam Ellis, who writes great content for their blog.
Oh, yeah.
But I think most of the principals that I work with have moved on. So Anyhow, so to answer your question, so I got started. So, well, originally I got started in SEO as a discipline. Actually, back in college, I built and ran a college basketball website on a personal web page that my university or my college sort of enabled for all students, right? So I used it to sort of just put up some NCAA tournament thoughts and exercises, and all of a sudden I got like it was March of I think it was March of 2001, and I got like 6 emails in one night from like fans from all over the country, like Florida and North Carolina and Arizona and like whatever. They were like complaining about some stuff I had written. I was just like, what? Like I'm just a guy, right? And how in the world did you find me? And they're like, well, you're ranking number 2 on Yahoo for NCAA tournament predictions. I was like, okay. So I mean, now with the benefit of hindsight, of course, it was published on a .edu domain. There weren't a lot of sites that were sort of optimizing title tags. It must have been a default setting, in the whatever content management system our personal sites were running on to sort of plug in whatever the H1 was, and boom, that was enough to rank. So anyway, that was my first introduction to SEO that got me curious about how and why that content did so well. And I, kind of bounced around, did a few things. After college, I went to architecture school for a year, hated that, and kind of got back into web development, really, and web design. I built about, I don't know. Well, first of all, I worked at a law firm for a year or two, redid their website, optimized it, worked with an agency to learn. I sort of learned a little bit from the agency, learned a lot actually from reading, the Beginner's Guide to SEO that Rand wrote way back when. This was about 2005, I think. And the partner at the firm was like, you've done an amazing job. And they were also very early. The firm was actually on Google Places even before I had started, local business center, I guess at the time, even before I had started working with them. So they were like pretty far ahead of the game. And I sort of picked up what I could from that experience. And the managing partner was like, you've done a great job for us. We really think you should just start your own business and do this for a bunch of other companies. So that's what I did. I ended up building websites for about, probably about 3 years, where that was my main focus, was actually building WordPress websites, just a solo contractor. And then I sort of was still reading a bunch about SEO and met virtually people like Mike Blumenthal and Andrew Shotland and and Miriam Ellis, a few others that were publishing at the time. And then the 10-pack came out and that was sort of a life-changing event, truly. I think myself and many of the folks I just mentioned and plenty of others were like, wow, Google's putting a ton of resources into this, ton of real estate. This is going to be a thing. Local SEO is a thing. And so was just, fortunate to be in the right place at the right time and kind of realize that, and developed, this community around the local search ranking factors report, which I've since handed off to Darren Shaw of Whitespark. I think you guys were 2 of the earliest contributors in the first edition or second edition anyway. And that kind of, there was sort of a discipline growing around local SEO that I think that report sort of helped frame. I co-built a product called getlisted.org, which was sort of a free version of Yext, is kind of the easiest way to describe it today. And that was not myself, my co-founders, our developer, didn't know anything about the SaaS business back then, but we just, the product kind of took off, and we were doing, I think before we ended up selling that product to Moz, because it basically had gotten too big for us to manage with just a small team. I think we had done about 3 million business lookups over the course of 4 or so years. And the last million came in about 6 months right before we sold to Moz.
Wow.
So it was just, and it was just, we had basically a single developer that was working on it. So we were just like, we need help, we need development resources. And Moz was looking to get into more of the kind of small business local angle at the time. And so it was a good fit for everybody. So I worked with Moz for several years, helping build out their Moz local product, which is now fairly different from the thing that we had sort of envisioned. So did that for a few years, and then basically was tired of working on the same product for, at that point, 8 years, And I went into email marketing. I did a startup called Tidings, which today would be, I built very differently since the advent of ChatGPT, but essentially it was a way to streamline and sort of 90% automate the creation and distribution of email newsletters, which I still am a huge believer in for businesses of all sizes, but especially small businesses. Like there's such a connection you can build with your existing customers in particular, and building word of mouth and building referrals through an email newsletter. And fast forwarding to today at Near Media, that's one of our central sort of content pillars is the now biweekly newsletter that Greg and Mike publish. We get fantastic open rates. It is really the best way for us to build thought leadership and help spread the word about what we're doing to potential clients. So I think big believer in email, but now I'm sort of back in the SEO world and with a major sort of channel being email marketing through our newsletter at Near Media.
Right on, man. Well, thank you for sharing your background. I mean, I've known your background for quite a while, but I'm sure that everybody else in here doesn't know all the depth and the details.
That's right. And along the way, I should say, we also started Local U. It was sort of an offshoot of Get Listed initially, but that became just a really fun, primarily fun, not particularly lucrative conference series. And I think Joy has done a great job with it, sort of taking over that company, that brand,
absolutely,
and building it into a more of an ongoing forum and kind of continuing the great community vibes that I think we had going from the early days. So,
what was the first year of the local search ranking factor study? Do you remember?
2008-ish. I may be off by one year or another. Yeah, but I think it was 2008.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's been a while.
Yep.
It's been
We're
a while,
old, boys.
We are. Emphasis on the O and OG, man.
Yeah, I know. Where has time gone, man? Jeez. Seems like I was going to early PubCon just days ago.
Yeah.
But actually, I was going to segue into something else, but now I want to go ahead and I think this is the perfect time, and that is that. So I remember Tidings, by the way. I liked the Tidings product. I think I resold it actually for a little while there. I'm not sure, but do you? Nice.
So do I. That's awesome.
But tell us a little bit about Near Media, right? We were talking about this in the green room, and it's like about how it's kind of like I don't understand exactly where you're going, man. It's like I think I do, but can you tell us a little bit more about how did the genesis of that start actually? And where are you going with it?
Sure. So it started basically, Mike and Greg and I and Greg Sterling is our other co-founder and partner. We've known each other, well, at least since 2008, because I can remember going to the very first SMX local, RIP, SMX local, back in San Francisco that Greg largely put on and meeting him for the first time. And he's been a friend and colleague, forever, just like Mike has. So the three of us were just kind of, chatting offline and online. And we were like, Mike had just sold Gather Up and had sort of transitioned out of Gather Up post sale and was basically looking for a place to publish and wanted to do it on, and actually try to build more of a business than just sort of publishing on his personal blog, blumenthal's.com, which is, still an incredible resource. The amount of great content that sort of chronologied, if that's a verb, chronicled, I guess would be a better verb, chronicled sort of the arc of local search. You'd be hard pressed to find a better single source than blumenthal's.com, but he wanted to sort of build more of a, professional presence, I guess I would say. Mike's basically always used like a free WordPress theme for his blog. And Greg is,
but Mike's content is amazing.
Yeah, tremendous track record as an author and an editor. He was one of the senior editors of Search Engine Land for a long time, and helped put on the amazing, what formerly LSA, now Localogy, events, or bringing vendors and companies, clients together, talking about the most important trends in local. So we were just like, hey, we love, chatting with each other kind of offline. Mike and Greg are both prolific writers. I am not so much a prolific writer. But I kind of, I knew enough how to put together a site on the back end and potentially built it into a subscription product. and that sort of thing. So we just kind of started it, not really knowing entirely where it would go. And, a couple of years in, we're like, we probably should think about trying to make money on this. We did I think 2 surveys to our existing audience around, hey, if we turn this into a paid newsletter subscription, like how much would you pay and that sort of thing. And did the math and just like, we got to basically take our number of subscribers up by an order of magnitude or 2 in order for this to pencil out as like as a paid newsletter business. So last year we kind of made the decision to shift a little bit and get into sort of a hybrid of consumer market research and sort of traditional SEO consulting as applied specifically to multi-location local search. So that is the product or the service that we're selling. Is kind of this hybrid market research and SEO consulting for multi-location brands. And right now our site doesn't reflect anything about that. There's no page about, what our standard engagement looks like, why you should buy from us, anything like that. So we're well aware of that problem. This week actually was supposed to be the week that I got around to actually, sort of reformatting the site and putting that content up about why you should hire us and what you would hire us to do. We had this ice storm, so that's kind of thrown a wrench in things. But in the next couple of weeks, I think you'll see a little bit more about what we're doing. So we worked with clients in legal, in medical, and storage to actually help them assess how consumers are interacting with the local SERP in their industry. And we found some really interesting data around, how often consumers read reviews, what the click-through rate curve looks like by industry. It's very different in legal as it is to self-storage in terms of how many people are clicking on ads, the pack, organic results, how far they scroll in the organic results, how many use the local finder, how many don't. So all of those things. And then I think that the most interesting piece is that we've learned, in particular in the legal and medical verticals. So I think maybe more like your money or your life type verticals, the anecdotal remarks that these consumers make as they're searching, as they're browsing websites, really inform what I think a good messaging strategy is for the clients that we brought on in those verticals. So in legal, we found, some really interesting data, like I think free consultation that's sort of been known as table stakes for a long time. As like, okay, if you offer free consultation, you should really do it. But
sure.
We worked with a multi-location law firm that was sort of putting itself out there as like this big national brand, and not most, but a significant number of people searching said, "Oh, I love that this firm is right down the street from me. I love the sort of deep dive on the individual attorneys about how they're involved in the community and all those things." So like that kind of content really matters. Maybe not so much for SEO, but for actually converting a new potential client. And so I think from a messaging standpoint, the navigation in terms of how you should be positioning your business, in things like your meta description, in things like your calls to action on your website, in things like Google Business Profile posts, if they're actually seen by consumers, in the services you list on Google Business Profiles, like that kind of messaging, depth of messaging data. Like I don't see the traditional SEO agencies out there kind of doing that work. I think that plenty of agencies do a great job of, keyword research and site architecture and all title tags, that sort of thing. But like the consumer market research piece of it, I think is what we're trying to bring, as one of our unique selling points for Near Media.
I think it's common though.
Go ahead, Greg. Yeah.
A lot of people, especially people that have come into SEO more recently, I feel like they do the more, not specifically just checklist approach, but they're so worried about which factors are going to influence their visibility in search results.
Yeah.
And they forget about, they're only worried about ranking factors, and they're not worried about conversion factors. And who cares if you rank if your site's not going to convert because it sucks? So that's like really valuable information for tons of people out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
exactly.
It's hard for a solo law firm, single practitioner, legal assistant, receptionist, kind of that size of firm. Like they're probably not going to be able to afford this service, right? But we'd like to get to a point where we can kind of do this research on a market by market basis and kind of package recommendations that aren't specific to a single business in a way that it might be affordable for kind of everyone. So that's kind of our long-term vision, is to kind of get to a place like that. But for right now, that's why we're kind of focused on multi-location brands, where to your point, Greg, like there really isn't an option for them to kind of do this research. And if they're going to hire an agency today, yeah, maybe that agency is going to do a great job kind of getting them that number one ranking. But the adage is, right, it's way easier to double your conversion rate than to double your traffic. And so that kind of hybrid approach of like, okay, how are consumers engaging with the SERP? Like where should you be placing your bets, right, in terms of your paid budget, your GBP budget, and your organic budget? And then what are the messages you should be emphasizing in all of those places to convert the most, potential clients or customers?
Exactly. And one thing I just got to say is I almost dare say this. It's like with the advent of, the creation of near media and where you're going with this, right? Which I love where you're going with this because it is all about conversions. It's not about search, really, which means that I think that our industry is really starting to grow up because there's a certain tipping point in an industry where, acquisitions start occurring, data analysis starts becoming more important, because it's actually an industry. There's a lot of money that's actually out there. And I think we all know that, right? There's a lot of customers out there and there's a lot of businesses, especially multi-location, that are looking for this kind of data. They want to learn how to convert better and they want to learn what really matters. So that's what's kind of exciting to me. I've seen this happen in other industries, and I'm already starting to see the ripples here in this industry where M&A is occurring. Private equity firms are buying local SEO companies. It's happening really silently. It's in the background, but I know 5 transactions that happened last year alone. And, so I think that's exciting, just that aspect of things. So, and in talking about that, because this is a shift, right? What would you say, David, has changed the most in local SEO over the years? Like, what's been the most outstanding thing? Like, if you had to look back on it and be like, I didn't see that coming.
You can only pick one thing.
Okay.
Man,
3 things. 3 things.
I guess I would say I didn't see just how dominant reviews would be as a factor influencing consumer behavior. I think from a ranking standpoint, that was sort of always made sense in terms of, anybody with a website, like basically in order for a site to like accumulate an inbound link, the person on the other end of that had to have a website that could link to your business. So like links always struck me as a particularly bad signal for local businesses in terms of not having the knowledge that links mattered, not having the budget to hire someone even to just reach out and ask for a reciprocal link, not having the budget to build content that naturally attracts links. Like it's a really bad ranking signal for mom and pop businesses. Reviews, though, everybody has customers. Everybody can ask their customers, how the experience was. And so reviews sort of democratized from a ranking standpoint, like what businesses were able to show up in PAC results. I guess I did not quite see it coming, the sort of incredible, when we see it in our near media research, just like everybody says that reviews and ratings are important as they're scrolling the PAC. We've seen people scroll in rural markets like 10, 12, 15 spots down the local finder to find the business that actually has star ratings, right? And they're just incredibly impactful to consumer choice. And I guess I didn't predict that they would be quite as big a deal as they've become. And credit to Mike, who was very early on this, Mike Blumenthal, who was very early on this sort of theme, built a business with, Don Campbell and Aaron Weike and others with Gather Up, and to sort of help businesses gather more reviews and analyze how they were doing, improve their business models and their business delivery. So I think that's been a really like interesting and massive shift, looking at things today in 2024 versus even 10 years ago in 2014, like reviews were sort of just starting to become a thing. Google was just starting to sort of eclipse Yelp as a review source natively. So I think that's probably been the biggest overall shift that I've seen, in the last 10 or 15 years.
Right on. And anything stand out from last year?
Google basically giving up on Google Business Profiles as a product.
You really think so?
I do. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they killed the whole thing. I don't know. I mean, it feels to me like I don't exactly remember when the sort of first announcement happened. I think it was in November of 2022. Maybe I'm off by a year, but like the sort of, just in terms of discontinuing the app, in terms of moving to this NMX in SERP experience, like it's very clear that they don't want to devote product resources to Google Business Profiles at all. They realize that most multi-location brands are using a Yext or an Uberall or fill in the blank, sort of citation service, and that they really, it just feels to me like this has become such a, I don't want to use a pejorative term here, but just like a very, very low priority for everybody inside of Google. And it doesn't feel to me that it has a real business champion making the case for why it should exist.
That's where it gets interesting because being a PE, because we do get to know a little bit of stuff that's going on behind the scenes. I wouldn't say that GBP is going to go anywhere. I think it's going to be around. It's a necessary evil, is what it is, right? And yes, it's a free tool. Eventually, it will be monetized. I think not like monetized like how everybody thinks. Like, oh my God, they're going to charge for features. Like monetized as in like maybe being able to buy products right from your knowledge panel, things like that.
Yep.
Like
well,
the shift.
I think it's basically going to bifurcate, and if you sell products, you're going to go in Google Merchant Center. And if you sell services, you're going to go to LSAs, and the business profile itself, there's going to be a very small set of things that you actually, need to tell Google or verify. We're already seeing, I mean, the difficulty in getting bulk verified as a user is just insane to me. The video verification required for multi-location medical companies, which I work with a lot, healthcare organizations, is just crazy. Just the expectation
is nuts.
The expectation that a major hospital is going to be able to show a plaque on a wall for a given doctor is just doesn't happen in the American healthcare world. And so I think that they've just given up on, they don't want to support it from a product standpoint, from a resource standpoint. They realize that the real money, such as it is, if there is any money in small businesses using Google Business Profiles, is in Merchant Center or is in LSAs. And I see it just continuing to wither on the vine, and Google putting more resources into those two buckets.
Interesting. Well, I mean, let's hope not. But yeah, verification
why hope
is
not? It creates more headaches than it's worth.
I think that GPP is very useful to tie it all together for consumers, right?
Sure, but from a product standpoint, it's irrelevant to businesses. Like a business would much rather just have Google pull the information from its Instagram feed.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it on the Google side too. Of they're not a free service. Like they're a company that needs to make money, and they don't really make money off Google Business Profiles. Sure, they added in you can do Google Ads Lite through the Google Business Profile interface. They're trying to monetize that, but I kind of fall in between you two. Like Ben, you still think, oh yeah, this is great, it's going to be around. David's like, nah, it's going away. I kind of feel like it's a hybrid in the middle. I think for some businesses, it's still really important. I don't think Google's going to kill it altogether, but I do feel like they're trying to figure out ways that they can really streamline the process and use as little internal resources as possible for it.
Well, exactly. And it is about diverting resources to where they need to be. Like for the shift to the in search experience, NMX, right? That and the killing off of the actual app itself was actually a great way of saving resources and basically being able to divert the resources where they needed to. Also, they did it based on consumer behavior too, right? They've got the data set that showed that this was actually working better for users. So kudos to the team for at least looking at that kind of stuff.
I think they had data saying nobody ever logs into our product. I don't think they have data saying the NMX is better for our users. I would be very surprised if they did real surveys around that.
Yeah, well, at least what we were told.
If they did, they didn't. If they did, they did not. I'm not sure who the NMX was designed for. Basically, I don't know why you don't just edit.
Yeah,
I don't know why you don't just edit your own knowledge panel.
It's designed. It was designed actually more for overseas than it was for the United States. What they found out is that a majority of users the single listing merchants.
Yep.
We're actually going to Google and typing in my business.
Totally. I don't dispute that behavior at all.
Yeah.
But why not just make the fields and what you're showing on the right-hand side editable? Why even have this very clunky, impossible to figure out where a given field lives in the
Oh no,
product
I
such as
agree
it
with you
is?
there. I agree with
It's just
you
awful.
there.
It's just a dreadful experience. So,
I hate the NMX experience
Well, I mean, it's the
personally.
same thing you get anytime you have a developer create something without thinking about actual usability or doing any testing, and they're just like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you need it to work this way? Cool, it works." And then people are like, "Well, it's clunky, it doesn't make sense." They're like, "Doesn't matter, it works."
And
that's
actually,
right. And that I think that is Google's attitude. Like, what we're going to do the bare minimum here to just unload this entire product team to take their salaries and take those resources off of our balance sheet. And yes, NMX is good enough in quotes, and it is what it is. So
I totally agree with you there.
yeah.
So, we were talking about in the green room about, our new special here, right? Which is basically meet a product expert. And we wanted to bring you on first, right? Because you were really responsible for a lot of the people who I think in the beginning, especially who became product experts. I think you knew them, and B, you probably inspired a lot of people, right?
And it is kind of funny that we're starting our Meet the Product Expert series with someone who's not a product expert.
I'm not. I've never
But
been one. Yeah.
again, it's like a lot of people I think became and joined the product expert program because of you, or whether directly or indirectly.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And so that's why we wanted to have you on. This show is all about really trying to help elevate people and give people the exposure that they deserve. And, especially like when it comes to product experts, a lot of these people, women and men, are just unsung heroes for what they actually do behind the scenes. And also, we've got our audience, which is filled with some really smart up and comers and people coming in the up in the business, basically. So thank you for being on our inaugural show here, David. And everybody in the audience, by the way, just so you know, we are going to be choosing one of you for the next show to come on. And so if you have somebody you would like to nominate, please nominate them in the chat. And you could just choose from any of our attendees or somebody you like, preferably. Anonymous. Stephen thinks anonymous attendee should join us.
I think that would be great. Also, by the way, it will not be a guest. It will be a guest co-host because I will be at a conference in Las Vegas 2 weeks from today. So I will.
Oh,
So it's
Lucky you.
big responsibility. And unfortunately, there will be no sound effects because I won't be around.
be around. Oh man.
But now we
So-
are pretty much at the time where it is time to move to questions from the audience. So that means it's time for people to step up to the virtual mic and ask some questions. So come on down. That's getting really annoying.
Yeah, it is. We need a new sound,
Sure,
Greg.
like some of these seem like general questions and not specific ones for David. So maybe we just go with them because I'm not seeing any that are like, David, tell me this. So let's just go from the top. Stephen Asman
All right.
has a question. He says, I've seen several articles and posts stating that several GBP categories is a good thing. But last week when we looked at his brother's GBP, we seemed to say the opposite.
Well, that's Stephen, because come on, it's SEO. It just depends, man. But
Oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
It depends.
There we go. Excellent. So I mean, there's no such thing as category confusion or dilution or anything like that. You want to choose the best category that describes who you are, not what you do, right? In the situation of your brothers, if I remember correctly, there were some categories that he had that had basically nothing to do with who they are. It was more a what they do type of situation. So, yes, you should have related categories. You should definitely take a look at your competitors and see what categories they're using. Plepper has an awesome tool for this, by the way, that even breaks it down by percentage points.
For sure. That is
What do you got,
I
David?
can't
Keep
believe
going.
that. No, I can't believe Plepper isn't better known for, especially for
Right.
this specific use case. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, the data that they can show and surface is just amazing from a competitive standpoint. I mean, so yeah, we use the optimize. Heck yeah. um, so anyway, okay. So anyway, that's the answer, Stephen. You got anything else on that, David? Greg?
Well, I think as many related categories as are true about your business, great. Don't try to like expand the funnel too wide and try to attract customers that you aren't really going to help anyway.
Well,
Wait a
and
minute. Hold on. Are you saying that if I am an automotive dealer, right, and I have a coffee stand for my customers, I shouldn't put down coffee shop?
Probably not.
Okay.
but that
Thanks
would
for the
make more
clarity.
sense than a lot of the stuff that we see because I've mentioned it before. We're about to publish, hopefully in February, if I can finish getting it all written up, our big, massive 2-year study on GBPs from 3 different verticals. And with the car dealers, we see crazy stuff. Like people will put vehicle manufacturer, they'll put chauffeur service. Like that's completely unrelated to what you do. Like coffee shop, at least I would get why they're doing that because they've got a coffee stand in the dealership. But like, why would you put chauffeur service? So it's more about like David said, it's got to be related. Don't just start trying to shove stuff in because you're like, well, we can pick you up if you need to get your car service. So that means we're a chauffeur
That
service.
we're
Like,
chauffeurs.
yeah, like come on, like be
And on the
intelligent.
flip side of that, do you really want to get calls for chauffeur service?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
really? Come on.
Yep.
All right. Next question. Paul Lemplin asks, noticed a Google phone number popping up on our listing. Turns out this happened before at one of our retail location. Here's the scam. Paul,
Paul, can you
you
pop into
didn't
chat and let us know what
finish.
you're talking or what your question is?
I mean, I know about the Google phone number, but you didn't finish the thought. And
Is
you're
this like
speaking
a
to
user suggested phone number overriding your own? I'm trying. Yeah.
no, this you can only see on mobile. And what it is it's a remnant now, but before when the feature was out there for call tracking, basically it would say your number and then
Got it.
underneath it would say Google phone number.
Okay.
And it was broken. I mean, this was like one of the worst implementations of a feature I've ever seen them roll out. Because I mean, it was broken before, and it was even more broken after they deprecated it. But the problem was the big break is that this Google phone number, of course, it's a virtual phone number, right? Would send calls that were supposed to come to you to a competitor.
Oh, geez.
It was horrible. I guess it's still kind of it's out there a little bit.
Paul said in chat for everyone who's listening and not live, someone accesses a phone at a store, for example, saying, "May I use your phone?" They create a Google number and they use it to verify purchases of iPhones at a mobile phone store. The Google phone number takes over the store phone and it's initially answered by the scammer to verify. Later, it directs to the store. The mobile seller of phones attempts to come by after the business for charges of the multiple phones. The Google number's displayed on the listing, but the manager can't see it or edit it.
No idea. What
This
to say
doesn't
on
make
this
any.
one.
This doesn't make a ton of sense. Verify purchase of a G number text is store phone number. Okay. That's about all I can say is okay.
I would
Because
say go to support.
yeah.
I've never heard of this happening, so I'm not quite sure what to tell you what to do.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, just go ahead and thank you, Sheila, Mark Barris. Um, yeah, head to support, man. That's all I can say about that. And if support can't help you because they are going to be stupid and not understand what the heck you're talking about, then you need to go to the community and just open up a thread. Be very, very detailed, and you have to show examples. So if you want to try and get it fixed, and no, it's not editable. It is that number I'm telling you is part of this deprecated feature, though. So you should just go in there and see if you, it won't be in there almost guaranteed, but see if the option is there to disable call tracking. Or like I said, go to the community. All right. So,
Next question
yes,
is from John, and John says a client does not have add, update, or create a post on his Google Business profile. It's been 6 weeks since they took over the client's profile. What can they do?
John, if you're still in the audience, what is the category?
Yeah, they're not posts don't show on it, or aren't able to create posts in every category, right?
That's
Hotels,
correct.
like
Yeah. Anything which is in the regulated industries, right? So like guns and, in the marijuana industry, even though it's legal, it's still considered federally illegal, so they don't allow it. Let's see, what's another good category for that?
John, can you
That's
chime in
probably
on
the
the
only one
chat? Let
too I
us
can
know what
think.
the vertical is. John's still here.
So the other reason that this could be is that the profile is actually under what's called content moderation, and which basically is a nice way of saying no posts for you. And usually this will also come combined with some other types of content moderation. And this is kind of how you know if you're in it. And that is you won't be able to post images, for instance. You'll put an image and it'll get stuck and it'll get, yeah, it's a sex shop. Never mind. Yeah, you can't post because it's a sex shop. That's really what it
No,
comes down to.
that was Paul. That wasn't John.
Oh, okay,
Paul
never
was
mind.
suggesting stuff.
Yeah, liquor store. Yeah, it's the liquor store category. You can try taking the liquor store category and making that the secondary category, and it might open it up, or add another category which does allow for posts, and again make that the primary category. That's the way around it. However, be warned that you can come across a foul of the content moderation very quickly with liquor. So if you put anything in there, it's going to be about alcohol. You can probably bet your butt that you're going to go ahead and you're going to get moderated. If you put up anything about buying liquor, you are absolutely going to get moderated. And you don't want to be moderated. It's a 6-month affair, basically. So, okay. Oh, good. We can answer that question. David, got anything to say about that, man? Nope.
I am not the world's greatest champion of posts by any stretch. So
Okay.
I basically would say, don't worry about it. But
Right on. All right. Well, here comes the next question. It's a big one. Okay, so here we go. This is from Michelle. Okay, Michelle.
Maybe it's Luis.
I think it's Lewis. Yes, because it starts out with, it says Michelle, but it says my name is Lewis. So, okay. Hi, Lewis. Okay, gotcha. Thanks. So it's actually Michelle. So I have a situation that I would like to be addressed today during the Q&A. Well, here you go. We have a company that is trying to get their Google Business profile up at a business park. They were suspended right after completing the video call. We talked about the video. And we submitted a reinstatement. We made sure to change the utility bill and IRS filing document to include the suite number, so it matched. Photos attached. Okay. We also had them change their signage to something a bit more permanent. Okay. Not permanent marker. It was a sheet of paper. I've seen those before too. The sign is still not permanent, but it's a sticker. Okay. They can't add permanent signage to their lease agreement. Ooh, now this is starting to sound a lot to be like a Regis. However, we found an old company that had that space previously, but their GBP is listed as temporarily closed. We marked the listing as closed and got an email that it was closed, but nothing had been updated. Okay. But now, as I'm reading this, I can't actually understand what the question is.
I think their question is
they're trying to get verified. They're trying to get a new profile verified.
So
Yeah,
reinstated, maybe.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're getting denied, basically, a reinstatement, which obviously is extremely common.
He said it's a gutter company, and it is an office rental space like a Regis.
Bingo. There's your problem.
It doesn't look like a Regis to me on the street view. So it looks like a very traditional business park.
Well, Regis's actually are commonly inside of business parks, right? So they'll usually take a
I mean, look
floor.
at the I don't think Regis is inside of this business park.
No,
Look at the street view.
I can find out. Hold on a second. Wonk, wonk, wonk. All right. You two talk amongst yourselves while I take a look.
So, David, what would you say in this case?
I don't know. I mean, this is
Come on,
this
man.
is
A1 garage door is there.
this is probably an example where I would probably try to seed some citations around the web first before actually going and claiming the profile.
It could also be as simple as they just put a sticker up and it's not permanent signage.
Mm-hmm.
And they originally submitted what did they say they did a video?
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at everybody else that's
But
around in
they
this
said they
area.
changed the signage to something more permanent because they had a sheet of paper up before. So if the first time you say, "Hey, look, here's my business," and it's a sheet of paper, and then you come back to do reinstatement because it wasn't permanent signage, and you just put a sticker up, they might still be going, "Yeah, you're trying to fake it," because sometimes they really follow those requirements to the letter.
I just found out that there's a business profile at this address that says need name companies working here. Anyway, this address is actually it's kind of an interesting address. You're right, David. It's not a Regis. It is just a place that offers virtual offices. However, like I said, A1 Garage is here. There's the past listing for this address is a garage door company as well, by the way. So, yeah, it's interesting. But either way, just getting away with a sticker might not be good enough. You know, I would have to see what the sticker looks like. I mean, if it's like, a super small thing and it's not even on the door or it's not on the window to the actual office itself, it's not going to be basically seen as good enough of proof. Yeah, we don't have access to your emails. So,
The
yeah,
other thing I would say, on this one is this is a gutter company, you said?
yeah.
Yes.
Somebody say that? Yeah. So there is already a roofing company at this physical address. So I think likely even if you get reinstated, you're probably going to get filtered at this address for a lot of searches that you want to show up for. Because my guess is the roofing company probably has gutters as a secondary category.
Are they
And
is the roofing
their
company at Suite
profile's already strong.
406? Are they at
No,
Suite
but they're at the
406 as
same.
well?
They're at the same building, which I think
Okay.
is. I don't know. I haven't seen the horizontal version of this, but in vertical, like office towers, this happens a lot with professional services like real estate, etc. So
Yeah. And
where you get
realistically, I
there's
mean,
Google only shows one business per category at a discrete physical address in the pack.
correct, right? Within 200 feet, I think it is. But yeah, but there's a lot of fishy stuff going on with this address, just in general. I mean, come on, there's not going to be multiple garage door companies there, a roofer and a gutter company. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit the business model. Um, yeah, you might want to think about either getting to a real storefront type of location, or sharing something with somebody else maybe, but you're definitely going to probably need better signage. All right, moving on. Okay.
Next question is from Mike, and he asks, "Is a co-working space?"
Wait, no, you're passing over Paul?
Well, that's the Paul stuff he put it down here too, but that was what we already talked about.
Oh, okay. All
The
right.
Google phone.
Oh, there it is. Yep, I see it. Okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
So is a co-working space like hatchoffice.com, or does a co-working space like hatchoffice.com qualify for a Google business profile?
If it's a co-working space, of course it would.
Yeah.
There's no reason why the co-working office itself shouldn't have
Mike,
a Google business profile.
can the co-working space get a GBP, or can you be a business at the co-working space and get a different GBP just for your business? Because those are two different questions.
I'm going to take a look at this membership link really quick just to make sure it's not shared space. It's a flex space. Yep. Okay. So they have virtual office, flex, and dedicated. They have conference room membership. So basically, the answer to the secondary portion, which you haven't asked, is that, of course, the virtual office would not qualify. The flex desk would not offer, would not. The dedicated desk would, if there is a individual standing, individual office, basically. So if it has a door of its own where you can actually put up signage, kind of like what you can do in a WeWork, then it would be acceptable.
Boom.
Anything anybody else has to say about that? No?
Nope.
All right. Okay, then we're moving on. So Russ has a question. How are we doing on time here, buddy? All right, 5 minutes?
5
All right,
minutes.
we're good. We are not getting through our questions today. Okay. Not by a long shot. Last one for the day. And that is from Russ Lubin. Google has sent emails to a few of our locations that they are changing our business name in GBP to remove the location descriptor that we've used for years. I love how everybody says that, by the way. I've had this for years. Let me put this to rest. Google doesn't care what you've done for years. They don't care how much you spend on AdWords. They don't care how many reviews you have. Remember that. With GBP, it's about today, not yesterday. All right. We've never seen these notifications before. I'm curious if anyone else has seen these, or is this an automated review? Go ahead, Greg. Or Dave.
Dave, let's ask you first. You got anything to say on this one?
I would guess that it's competitor initiated. I haven't seen this happen on an automated basis, either recently or historically. So, but I couldn't say for sure.
Normally, it's the suggested edit.
Yep. But they're not getting an automatic change. They're getting emails from Google that the names will change.
Well,
But that's
no,
just an email alerting them that there was a suggested change, I'm
yeah.
assuming, right?
Yeah, it's the standard email that you get that shows you what it was before and what it is now.
Russ, can you give us an example? Like you say you've got a location descriptor. Can you pop into the chat and just let us know, like, what are you using for the location descriptor?
Watch it be Mel's computer, iPhone, iPad, break, fix, repair, blah, 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 blah of San Diego.
So, Russ, it's brand name of. Okay, what's the vertical? Russ, what vertical? Health.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's going to be a competitor.
Yeah, it's got to be a competitor.
Yeah, it's going to be a competitor. And there's also a small possibility it could be about citations.
It could kind of depend too. Like your example is San Luis Obispo. Is it the only location in San Luis Obispo? It's like if you've got one in LA and one there and one in Phoenix and one in Dallas, you don't really need to put the name of the location into the name anyway.
Stephen, we know it was you.
It was Steven.
Yeah. All right. Well, multiple in cities.
Multiple in the same city or multiple cities? Because it makes sense if you were like, brand name uptown, brand name downtown, brand name east, brand name west. But if it's just the name of the city and you've got multiple in a city, it's tough to answer this without seeing a little bit more specifics of what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got to be the suggested edit. Google's not just going to come tell you to change it.
Exactly. All right. So before we let David go, I want to ask everybody on the audience. I've seen some nominations. There was one nomination there for Mark Barris. So who would like to nominate anybody, including Mark, again, to be our special co-host for the next episode?
Mark,
I think Mark
is saying no because he had back surgery and he's still recuperating.
All right. Mark is out.
I think we got to have Max
Get
on
better, Mark.
because Max is always here and vocal, but I would rather have Max on when I'm around.
Okay. Well, we're not doing a product expert. I can't do Mike because we're not doing a product expert next show. Maybe for the next show, but it has to be somebody from the audience. So come on. So if you'd like to see Steven up here, I see
Let's go.
Jan and Jan, you're a product expert. We'll get to you, buddy. Steven says no. Okay. Sheila, Nate, come on. Max, no. All right. Well, we will
We'll figure it
see.
out.
We'll see exactly
Did
what
you get the questions
happens.
copied before
I,
we
I know,
shut this down?
I know Daryl wants to come on the show, so maybe Daryl will do it, Daryl. But anyway, yeah, I've got it all. Thank you, buddy.
Cool.
So, David, any last words of wisdom for everybody in the audience? Either how to get involved in the industry, how to make your name for yourself in the industry, or just find out more about the industry in general.
It's very different today than it was when the three of us got started, I think. I think there were fewer hubs, and it was easier to distribute content and get it read back in the day than it is today. So I would say the best thing to do would be to participate in events just like this. Participate in online groups, online forums where people in the industry hang out. Definitely go to a local U event. It's the best place to meet.
Heck yeah.
I guess I don't just like an incredibly condensed set of really smart people in local search. I think it's the number one event series for that. So there aren't too many conferences that I would actually like spend money on as an attendee. Local U is one of the few, and especially if I were trying to just sort of just to break into the industry and kind of expand my knowledge set, that would be probably my best recommendation.
Excellent, man. Thank you. Well, Dave, thanks for everything that you've done for the industry in the past. I mean, a lot of the things that you created, like Local U and even working with Moz, have kind of reverberated through to this industry. And I think what you're doing with Near Media is amazing, and I can't wait to see how it kind of grows.
Yep.
And so, yeah, thanks for coming on the show and teaching everybody a little bit more about you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. Definitely an honor to be here. You said way too many nice things that are only probably 10% true. And yeah, if you're interested in kind of keeping in touch going forward, nearmedia.co, sign up for our newsletter. Mike and Greg sort of each write one newsletter a week. So you get two a week in your inbox. And we've got a weekly podcast called the Near Memo that I actually do usually participate in. So thanks a lot for being here.
Excellent. Awesome. All right, everybody, have a nice, fantastic weekend. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Well,